Hi, this is the theologian, and I'm discussing the COVID-19 jab as a Christian. Some Christians see it as sinful and a possible precursor to the mark of the beast. Even in some jurisdictions, it is mandatory, and one needs to take it in order to keep their jobs and also go about their normal lives. Indeed, a section of the Christian population think that the jab could be associated with the mark of the beast. And there's other Christians who think it is only a medical intervention that we should all get involved so as to curtail the problem associated with COVID. Is the jab sinful? It is associated with the mark of the beast or only a medical intervention? The section of Christians who sees it as a medical intervention often argue that as believers we have to give reverence to leadership since all leadership came from God. However, while Christians are obligated to honor leadership to facilitate social cohesion, it should also be noted that according to Revelation chapter 13, it is the same political leadership that the devil is going to use to persecute believers and compel them to take the mark of the beast. Moreover, the reasons given for the mandate and the push had no scientific grounding. For example, the U.S. President Biden said that it was imperative for everyone to be jabbed to protect oneself and also the loved ones around them, and therefore he insisted that the sick, that is the people who were not vaccinated, pose danger to society and even to the vaccinated. But the concept of vaccination is to be immune to a certain disease. So if you are jabbed and you are still vulnerable because others are not jabbed, it didn't have scientific grounding. So Christians who think critically will certainly be suspicious of such pronouncement and mandate, which went to the extent of denying people their livelihood, curtailing people freedom unless they take it. That is, they take the jab, and even firing people in institutions in the US which were very sensitive. The mandate was repressive and evil, an excessive government overreach. This is because no group of people or persons have the right to compel people to access certain medication or get jabs into their bodies. No. Furthermore, we neither know the long-term nor the short-term effects of these messenger RNA technologies on our bodies. These crude mandates do not recognize the fact that the human body is complex and we are diverse. Science has not been able to fathom the complexities associated with the human being. When political powers are used to coerce people into taking some injections, many people will see a sinister motive behind it. As Christians, the body is the locus of worship, and we will give account of whatever we do with our bodies, whether good or bad. God himself incarnated in the body, and in Romans chapter 12, we are entreated to offer our bodies as living sacrifice unto God. The nature of the COVID jab is even aggravated by the fact that it is linked with abortion. Almost all the jab available now used aborted cell lines in their production. This poses a theological challenge to the Christian who sees all lives as sacred and abortion as sinful. Here, I would like to rather focus on the safety aspects. What every believer should know, first of all, is that the COVID jabs, the vaccine, are experimental jabs and they are being used under emergency authorization. Therefore, they are not like any conventional vaccine or jab. It was developed to manage the COVID situation under the Operation Warp Speed program under former President Trump. So the COVID jab was produced under the tag of countermeasure. Therefore, it didn't go through the rigorous measures that any new medicine or vaccine should go through before it gets its approval. So this is something that everyone should know. You should also know that hypothetically, you can get protection from it. At the same time, hypothetically, you can get injury, death, so, and also you may not get any protection at all. And all these things are happening to different kind of people because the human being is very complex and diverse. But some medical practitioners will say, well, take it, it is safe and effective, as if everybody is the same or human beings are single cell organisms. In fact, there is no such drug that is effective and safe for every single human being. It's not possible. Even the conventional vaccine does not work for everybody and is not safe for everybody. So the individual differences are there. Unfortunately for everybody, the COVID jabs are enjoying the status of untouchable divinity. So all the negative narratives about it has been kept away from the public and people are being placed in the dark. So the injury, the various problems that people are encountering with it had been kept away from the public. Not the certain narratives are being prevented from the public view, which is unfortunate. It is a spat on our democracy, and unfortunately, now it appears the media, the political leaders, where the economic forum people, and multi-billionaires, especially the Bill Gates man and his foundation, who is founding many media organizations right now, are trying to make sure some reports don't come to the public domain. To silence opposing views, terms such as conspiracy theory, misinformation, disinformation were hyped during the COVID era to protect the jab. So people were tagged with these terms in order to silence them. In fact, the media in general, including the social media, became exceedingly intolerant towards opposing views. Many people were cancelled, many people censored, and many posts were deleted because they did not conform to the official narratives. Conspiracy theory normally describes the idea that there are a group of powerful people behind misfortune and other bad events that happen in society, such as pandemic and the rest, and that those people have their ulterior motives, which they are trying to achieve by creating those events. During the climax of the pandemic, any idea or suggestion, any narrative that was contrary to the official narrative, whether it was from the experts, scientists, so far as they did not conform to what the government wanted, such as restricting people's freedom, wearing the mask. However, so many things that were considered conspiracy theories have proven to be factual. For example, the suggestion that natural immunity is superior to the vaccine-induced immunity was tagged as conspiracy theory. Many scientists were cancelled and censored because of this stand. Other ideas that were ridiculed as conspiracy theories were the suggestion that the mask could not prevent the transmission of COVID. Another was that vaccine, the jab, the COVID vaccine, could not prevent hospitalization and death. Another one was that both the sage and the vaccinated could equally contract the disease and also transmit the disease. These facts were considered conspiracy theories. Other terms used to silence people were misinformation and disinformation. Now, when it comes to misinformation, it's like when somebody mistakenly transmit something which is faulty. So mis and information together, mis stand for something which is wrong. That's why we have misfortune, misinform. So somebody may unknowingly transmit information which is wrong, and then we have the disinformation. Disinformation is deliberate. When somebody deliberately transmits information the person knows to be false, so there is the intent to deceive. So misinformation and disinformation were used as the basis to prevent so many information from coming out. So many people were disenfranchised, deplatformed, and silenced on the social media. And now it has come up that even on Twitter, some renowned scientists from the best medical and scientific institutions were also deplatformed or censored. It is pathetic that the experts who could advise the public were being censored by people who knew nothing about the pandemic. Experts from Stanford, Harvard, the biggest scientific institutions were being censored by people who knew nothing about science. Let's watch this short video where the congresswoman from South Carolina, Nancy Mace, interrogates representatives from Twitter, those who were in charge of censoring and also deleting the posts of people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Twitter files were not just about Hunter Biden's laptop. Twitter files make it apparent Twitter worked overtime to suppress accurate COVID information. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya is a professor of medicine at Stanford who once tweeted an article he wrote about natural immunity. Thanks to Elon Musk's release of the Twitter files, we learned some of his tweets were tagged with the label of Trends Blacklist. Apparently, the views of a Stanford doctor are disinformation to you people. I, along with many Americans, have long-term effects from COVID. Not only was I a long hauler, but I have effects from the vaccine. It wasn't the first shot, but it was the second shot that I now developed asthma that has never gone away since I had the second shot. I have tremors in my left hand, and I have the occasional heart pain that no doctor can explain, and I've had a battery of tests. I find it extremely alarming Twitter's unfettered censorship spread into medical fields and affected millions of Americans by suppressing expert opinions from doctors and censoring those who disagree with the CDC. I have great regrets about getting the shot because of the health issues that I now have that I don't think are ever going to go away. And I know that I'm not the only American who has those kinds of concerns. Another example of what Twitter has done to censor folks is from Dr. Martin Kulldorff, a Harvard-educated epidemiologist who once tweeted, "COVID vaccines are important for high-risk people and their caretakers. Those with prior natural infection do not need it, nor children." The Twitter files reveal this tweet was deemed false information because it ran contrary to the CDC. So my first question this morning of Ms. Gaddy, may I ask of you, where did you go to medical school?
I did not go to medical school.
I'm sorry?
I did not go to medical school.
That's what I thought. Why do you think you or anyone else at Twitter had the medical expertise to censor a doctor's expert opinion?
Our policies regarding COVID were designed to protect individuals. We were seeing
You guys censored Harvard-educated doctors, Stanford-educated doctors, doctors that are educated in the best places in the world, and you silenced those voices. My next question is, did the U.S. government, I have another chart I want to show you, Ms. Gaddy. I have another tweet by someone with a following of a full 18,000 followers. This person put a chart from the CDC on Twitter. It's the CDC's own data, so it's accurate by your standards, and you all labeled this as misleading. You're not a doctor, right, Ms. Gaddy?
No, I'm not.
Okay, what makes you think you or anyone else of Twitter have the medical expertise to censor actual, accurate CDC data?
I'm not familiar with these particular situations.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not, but this is what Twitter did. They labeled this as inaccurate. It is the government's own data. It's ridiculous that we're even having to have this conversation today. It's not just about the laptop. This is about medical advice that expert doctors were trying to give Americans because social media companies like Twitter were silencing their voices.
Available data indicates that the COVID jab could have a devastating effect on many people. If you have not heard about the lockdown files, the UK expose, kindly Google it, lockdown files. There are evidence to show that these political elites were actually doing everything to scare people and to push people to go for the jab. This health minister was advocating for total lockdown of society, and society should be open for only people who are jabbed, and even asking that people who don't have the jab should not even be allowed to work, similar to what President Biden wanted to do to the Americans. Advocating in their cabinet for schools to remain closed and people remain indoors until they have taken enough of the vaccine. Now, his WhatsApp messages shows that they were just putting fear into the people, scaring people to take the jab. And he was also trying to get favors from Bill Gates and saying that he has helped him to inject his chips into so many people. This confirms the speculation that some of the jabs contained liquid nanoparticles. And Bill Gates and then George Soros, they are trying to be like God, and they think that why they have nanobots in people, then they will be able to control them and decide who lives and who dies. So the COVID situation have shown how our political elites were able to hijack our health systems and compel people to take substances that were not properly tested in order to achieve what they wanted. That could have a devastating consequences on them. Millions of people are already dying because of this. And if you may not know, some places, some states in America, if you are vaccinated, you took the jab, you cannot even donate blood because of the spikes in the blood that persist after taking the jab. So then I come back to my question: is it sinful to take the jab? No, it's not, because all medical knowledge came from God. So every medical intervention is from God to help us, because no matter who we are, infirmity will be able to seep into our physical bodies. Therefore, we need medication. However, we should also note that why it is not sinful, it might also not be good for our bodies. So it is not sinful like any medical intervention, but we need caution. Secondly, somebody like me who stands against abortion, I cannot take it because I cannot associate myself ethically with anything from abortion. Stay tuned for my next video where I focus on Pfizer, their innovations, and I ask whether something good can come from them. Thank you.